than covering Colleen's part. But ultimately, the county wrote a grant for a pre-prosecution diversion program. Both of you know a good deal about the background and history of that and how we got that grant funding to come into the county. That grant fund was designed to provide a little shy of $500,000 to help fund county operations in order to roll this program out. One of those residual pieces that was identified as part of our auditing and then our internal grant reporting requirements is that a share of those grant funds were designed to come from our grant fund allocation back into the county in order to fund a deputy prosecuting attorney salary who was going to be assigned to perform the functions and tasks of the grant. As the county's well aware, we have not had any success filling that position, and as such, we've had to have other employees step in and fulfill those functions. So where the grant funds were originally designed to funnel through under a certain budget line for a deputy prosecutor, since that position is vacant, they essentially aren't going there, and the work's being done by other individuals within the county. So we consulted with our auditor, who outlined his recommendation for how we bring that money in, get it redistributed to the employees who are performing the work in order to roll the program out as required underneath the grant guidelines. And his recommendation was to funnel it through a line item that, although it has $0 allocated to it in the budget, it will essentially result in a wash, because the grant funds will come into that line item and then go immediately back out for disbursement. So at the end of the budget year, it should still read 0, so it shouldn't result in any necessary changes to the budget, but there's going to be a lot of logistical moving pieces behind the scenes. So that's kind of the backstory, which then pulled...
we've got to use the grant.
The grant's there, it's been allocated.
So that's why we're reallocating it to... Okay.
We're holding it in a separate account, which was, a big task in and of itself that required us to do things differently than we had in the past because of IDOC's requirements for how those grant funds were held. So it sits in a separate account, and then journal vouchers are used to pull it out and get it where it needs to go. Yeah. I did more talking than I was going to. Tammy, it's yours.
So theoretically,
I understand.
Yeah, it's really just a movement of money. We pay them out of Fund 17, Prosecutors Fund, and then we will reimburse that fund using the PPD grant, which it was part of that grant anyway. So what we're missing is we have 4 prosecutors budgeted in 17, really 3.5, I guess, 3 3/4, something like that. And we're down to 2. And so the people in that office are picking up the work of what 3.5 people should be doing. Part of that is the PPD. So this is a way to still enable them to do the work, but also to get reimbursed for it for doing that extra workload, because they're all having to step up to do that.
So you're going to create another line?
So no. So
Specifically,
actually,
no.
the way we decided to do it is in their current budget, there's a line item that is called salary temp wages. It has 0. There isn't anything in there, but we've used it in the past for different things. So it's still there. It just doesn't have a budget. So we're going to have them charge. We'll get a memo once a month that says this is how much money each of these people, whoever they are, work and fill those responsibilities. And then that memo will come to you, you will approve it, get it to Colleen, and Colleen will actually transfer the money back into that account. So it's basically a wash in Fund 17. And the money will actually go back or come out of the PPD grant.
Then, of course,
And it's a good tracking process. So what we see is that the amount will go down as we hire additional prosecutors, because then they'll step in, and instead of only 2 people, there'll be 3 people sharing the workload, and then when they get full staffed, it will go away. So it's a temporary thing, but we're still utilizing the grant, because the grant is a 3-year grant, so,
So we have to use the money.
yeah, we can't wait.
Yeah.
And it's very, specific on how much is going to each different task within that grant, so. So, yeah, and Tony agreed with us, that's what it should be, so it will go out of 17408.2, which is salary temp wages, and it will go, come back into 17 from 217048020. So Colleen will do the JD, Ben's office will do the memo, and then it will come for you guys to sign, and that's what I gave you, Trace, so.
Okay.
That's the one that would be signed and then used as the supplementary documentation that goes into computer arts with those transactions.
And this, in theory, can be a part of that. So Carrie comes in and does the resolution with you every month anyway. We've got the whole transactions, and that's what I use as a part of what I'm reporting to IDOC.
Okay.
And so this can be just a part of that. It's not necessarily anything that Carrie, but in theory, we can have that all just one package when she comes in, and I'll try to attend all of those that are there, and we'll just do it all at one time. And then it's just a one and done. And this is just the authorization, and then I do the JV, and everything gets moved on the backside.
Okay.
Okay, then it'll just come to us each month and we'll put it in.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Any questions?
I don't have any questions.
How about you? Any public comment?
This has nothing to do with the stock grant, that one I'm getting. It's not, so when was, and this came through LTAC or Levis funding,
No, this is a whole separate grant from Department of Corrections.
and we just got it, is that what you're saying?
June of last year.
So that's what we listed as revenues on the budget worksheets.
No,
It's the Idaho Law
it's not
Enforcement
part of the
Diversion
budget.
Program that we do the resolution on every month for Carrie to transfer the money for invoices paid.
For pre-prosecution grant. It's the one, Matt, that allowed us to hire the pre-prosecution diversion counselor that's upstairs. It was a $430,000 grant, roughly, for 3 years. It's the only one in the state of Idaho. Hopefully will continue, but at this point, we don't know, but it's a very exciting one for the county. So it's not part of LATCF or ARPA or any of that, it's totally separate.
So we need to do a motion to approve, nothing?
There's no motion. It was just an update and advisement.
Okay. And then when it
There's a
comes
lot of
to-
moving pieces behind the scenes that are going to be happening. And so once those journal vouchers are, or preceding the journal voucher, once you get the authorization that comes before the BOCC, that allows Colleen to execute the journal voucher, it's going to make sense of why that's in front of you, essentially.
One thing I would recommend is that we get the memo by the 24th of every month so that we can process it with payroll, because it also will include benefits for that amount of money, whatever that is. Not benefits, I shouldn't say that. Social Security, Medicare, those types of things, workers' comp, would also be a part of that.
And I think that comports with your timeline, Colleen, because don't you usually request it as of the 24th, isn't that?
I'm
So-
a month behind because I take what the payroll was.
Okay.
So if we're a little bit, well, and I guess that would be, you would still be like that month behind because you would be requesting for the next month.
Yeah.
However, that works for your payroll timeline.
Okay.
So I report the previous month in my Department of Corrections reports.
Okay.
We would get I guess my thought would be we would get the memo from your office saying that we want to transfer these funds for the last 30 days, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And then it would go through the normal payroll process when
It-
Tammy does it, so she's not doing a totally separate check.
Yeah, and it's the same report that Colleen's going to get from office already for the grant reporting. So it's the same exact numbers that are going to be used for both. But it sounds like maybe we'll just be fast tracking and producing that report sooner.
Or you're a month
Unless a
behind.
month behind is okay.
Which
And
you
then-
already
Which
know,
maybe
right?
that's simpler.
Yeah.
Maybe just
Yeah.
do it a month behind so you only have to process it once.
Yep. And Tammy would do her payroll that way.
And that would be ideal, because then everything lines up.
Yeah.
It's all in the same
Easy enough.
pay periods.
We'll
Okay.
make it happen.
So we'll just need signatures on those, that thing, so that Tammy can process it, and then every month we'll know that you're gonna get that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. No questions? Commissioner Cassidy?
No,
Okay, well, we're adjourned.
it's
Okay.
Thank you guys.